Doing, pardon me for not looking up for just a second. Yes. Well, here we are for everybody staring in awe and wonder and open mouth surprise. Happy birthday, America. Happy birthday. It's especially fitting, I think, that my topic for today, why wins aren't as sweet without losses, is particularly fitting, given the climate that we all seem to be staring at and dealing with and fighting over and hiding from. And I wanted to talk about wins and losses today for many reasons. Obviously, there's always many reasons, and the big reason to share it with you is part of this saga that I'm chain ganging you into my boat and riding off with you, rowing furiously into the wind. Is my saga, my cleaning up, tying up, tidying up the loose ends and the transition of ownership and responsibility and life focus that we find ourselves dealing with when there is a significant shift of any kind in our lives. You know, they say that the five biggest stressors, there's death, there's chronic illness, there's divorce, there's moving, and there's a job change. All of these kind of live under the same umbrella. And the umbrella is, now what? Who am I under this new world order? What do I do? Where do I begin? What on earth just happened? And it is in this process of finding our balance, of finding solid ground, of rediscovering who we are, that is so overpowering and overwhelming and undermining, because you can't really rehearse it. You can't rehearse what to do in a crisis. You know, we all think, well, if that ever happened to me, why, I would be the first to. And you know what? Sometimes we are, but not always. Sometimes we are, gotta go, because we just don't know how we will react when that moment of absolute surprise and bewilderment, and by the way, no instructions, no preparation, no understanding that when these things happen, people like us do things like this. We if we don't have that, and even when we do, good morning, Freddie. Happy 4th of July. Happy America birthday, Freddie, to you. Every time we are faced with an unknown, and especially if it's a surprise unknown, we need a moment, and sometimes we need more than one. And when we get hit by not a predictable avalanche, you know, one pebble, two, 37, what's that sound? No, the avalanche that comes out of nowhere. You know, everybody's facing this, and then something pings you from here, and you go, ow. And then you turn and look at this, and then here comes the avalanche. These are the kinds of things that unsettle us, that shake us to our core. And when we see incredibly moving pictures, there's a photo that is circulated, and I've seen it several times in preparation for today, celebrated in the US, is a picture of fireworks. You see them through a window, right? The sky is dark, the fireworks. And in the foreground, under the window, there is a service woman in uniform, and with her is the service dog, and she has her hands over her head. And of course, the message we take away is that when those celebration rockets explode, that's not what she's hearing. She's taken back immediately to the place of devastation, fear, and danger, and the possibilities of the worst outcomes ever. and how we, with our helpers, with our mentors, with our training, with our service providers, our dogs, our creatures, we find a way to step away from the terror, the anticipation, the anxiety, the thinking back and projecting forward. If we can be in the moment, live in the moment, own the moment. And I know it's easy to say, but if we can do that, then the moment we win is the one that matters. It's the one that tastes amazing. So all the other projected wins, great. Let's put that on the rehearsal. Let's put that on the practice board. Let's put that on the strategic plan in a minute. Right now, because that's why we have a later folder. We'll do that later. Right now, in this moment, I own this moment. I've earned this moment. I can afford to take the moment and say, yes. That's when they taste so sweet. There is no word that describes how sweet that is. And to illustrate that, even though it's very small, and it certainly is it's a tiny happy moment in a world filled with people who deserve many more and many bigger. However, in that particular moment, this was my happy moment, and by golly, I got to tell you. And so my moment is that on Tuesday after the video, I went back to the bank. I went back to the bank because after all this time, so we're talking now, we're basically talking January 2023. And here it was July 2nd, 2024, that I have been having discussions about the bank, at the bank, with the bank, on and on and on, in ways that made no sense to me. I grasped that there are processes and procedures and hoops and boxes. I get all of that. This was not those. This was people who appeared to be doing their best to fail. And not in a grand fall on your sword way. No, trip on a banana peel that was caught in the rug and spill your soup on the dog you just had groomed kind of way, like not. But it kept on happening. Yes, here comes the money. Mostly, Freddie, it wasn't the money. Mostly it was the completion. Mostly it was that check mark. That got it done. There you go, Dave. Got it done. And the pride in staying with it, in following through, the determination, the take the breath and let it out, to keep explaining to people who were saying, well, how long is it going to take? Explaining to them that it was going to take as long as it took and you were doing your best. When I left the bank, when last we left our bank, our heroine was wondering how many more ways one organization, Jamie, we learn more or should from our losses, failures than our victories. You're right. Although some of the victories, that come with attachments, sometimes you say, all right, then let's never forget that moment. But I agree. It's good to see you, Jamie. How have your travels been? When I walked into that bank, a couple of things that I noticed. One was that there were so many people in the line to see a teller. So many. There must have been 40 people. Incredibly. And then I realized, well, in Canada, the day before Monday was a holiday in Canada. Monday was our birthday, so everything's closed. Everything's closed. And also end of month, everything closed. And here it is July, and people are, getting their paychecks, and they're paying their rent, and they're moving, and they're going on vacation, and they're, everything delayed by a day, 2 days. So here they all were. Fortunately, I had an appointment. So I walked by people saying, hi, good luck, I'm with you. And I went to somebody who said, can I help you? Yes, I'm here to see so-and-so. I'm a little bit early. Have a seat. Have a seat. And the fellow comes out of his office. I'd never met him. Hello, are you? Yes, I am. I'm so-and-so. Hello. He said, I'm just tying something up. I'll be with you in a few minutes. And I said, thank you very much. And so clearly what happened was that whoever it was, I'll let him know, did. And that person said, excuse me just a second, stuck his head out and said, I'll be right with you. Came back. And the person he's with, who is tying up their last loose ends, obviously saw somebody who takes his job very seriously. It wasn't that he abandoned the customer he was working with. Excuse me. He made sure that the next customer already knew that they were anticipated and that their business was valued. And so this current customer gets to see that this is the place to be. It's a simple win strategy, and how easy to do it. It took him less than 30 seconds, and it took away from me all of the, let's think good thoughts about a great meeting this time. However, in the saying that, I did say this time, meaning I was carrying with me my readiness from all the last times. Without failures, how would you? Well, yes, how would we know? And without dark, how do you know it's light? Correct. And I felt a huge thing shift when he popped his head out, and I thought, okay, that is as it should be. That is as it hasn't been. This is a great moment for me. This is a great moment. This is a win before anything happens. Because this is how it should be, not for me. This is simply how it should be. That if you make a commitment, you honor it. If something gets in the way, you manage it. You own it. You minimize it. It's as it should be. Are people doing that? Not so much. Okay, how do I know? How do we all know people aren't doing it? Not so much. Because we're experiencing it every day. And the sad, sad, sad tragedy of that is then we take away that toxic feeling of abandonment, of unimportance, of disrespect, of being unheard, unseen, unvalued. And we carry that with us to the next meeting and the next and the next. And do we find a way to put it away? Do we take out our handy later folder and say, just give me a minute, I got to get rid of this so that I don't spread it to the next person who doesn't deserve it, including me. So there I was. And I looked at my watch and I thought, okay, it's a couple of minutes. And then I looked at my watch a few minutes later and it was a couple more minutes, but it wasn't a lot. It wasn't 20 minutes. It was 4, maybe 5. And you know what? He'd already apologized. He'd already said he was running late. And in case I didn't know that, there were 40 people in a lineup that indicated to me that this was a very busy branch that day. And that I had been incredibly fortunate to find a seat where I could wait, and I was anticipated. All of these are winning markers. These are good things. So I have to tell you that I went in to that bank armed with something I hadn't done before. At least I hadn't done it in a while. I did it early on in the tug of war process. And it felt so good to do it, I realized that I needed to do it again. And what I did is I have a picture. I have a photograph of Dave and I. It's in a frame. It's on the desk. And I put that picture in its frame in my briefcase. I really didn't have a plan what I was going to do with it, if I was going to do anything with it. And I parked the car. I found parking nearby. I had enough change in my wallet to pay for the parking without having to go anywhere. It was an easy walk because it was nearby. I got inside. I got my preferred seating, But before I walked in the door, when I was standing outside, out loud, there's people on the sidewalk. Do I care? I said out loud, patting my briefcase, "We are David. Brace yourself, Goliath." And then I walked into a bank. And I walked in smiling at the thought that I had found the way to say what everyone needs to say, should say, for two reasons. If we feel small, if we feel that the challenge is big, it's okay to be David. Because look what happened to Goliath. And this is what we need to call on. Odds, certainly, always. Am I David? You bet I am. And on that day, I was David 2.0 because I had Dave with me in the picture, in the photo. And that made me smile because, as I say, I didn't really have a plan. I just thought, you know what? We're doing this together. And then this miraculous thing, this series of beautiful, soft waves coming to the beach and coming away, coming to the beach and coming away. Every single step in the process that has taken all those days, all those moments of worry, all that fretting and stressing and time invested that seemed to pay nothing back. All of it came to fruition. He stood up, greeted me, apologized again for keeping me waiting, sat down and said, "I understand you have been through quite a struggle. You have my condolences." I've never met the man. Not old, quite young, actually, quite young for a bank officer. And I said, "Well, thank you." I didn't say, "How did you know?" Because clearly he had read my file. Clearly somebody had said, "For God's sake, don't blow this one. We'll never get her back." And he had chosen to take it seriously. He had chosen to say, "This matters to me that I do this for her well." And he said, "I understand that you've been through a lot. I understand that your previous meetings have been difficult." And he said, "Let's see what we can do about that." And I said, "I'm with you." And he said, "All right, first thing we need to do, while you're getting me your ID and the papers that you were asked to bring, I'm going to get on the phone with the people that we need to talk to in Toronto at head office." And so he's dialing, and I'm bringing out my photo ID, and I'm bringing out the paperwork that I was told at the last meeting that I need this and this and this, and I had all of that. And I had the other stuff that I wanted to ask. Already, the phone connection is made, and the woman comes on, and he says, "I am this is my employee number. I'm here with our client. This is her account." Picks up my bank card. "This is her account number." And he opens the file folder, and he said, "And this is in the matter of the estate of," and he reads out that account number. And he says, "We are looking to make sure we take care of any outstanding matters so that she can proceed with her work." And there was a woman on the other end, and the woman on the end said, "Thank you very much." And she called me by my full name, and she said, "My name is," and the first thing I want to say before we begin this process is that you have my heartfelt condolences. Loss is such an experience that really there are no words for. And thank you for being so patient with us." I almost cried. And I said, "Well, thank you very much." And she said, we all deal with these things from time to time. And it's important that we remember how we felt when we are dealing with someone we recognize. And she said, especially that I work in the estate department, you represent my clients, my client niche. And I thought, well, of course, of course. And how smart of her to remind me that I'm not alone, that I am part of a community, and that she serves my community. How easy was that? How smart was that? And how incredibly productive was that? I felt the the tension in my shoulders, and I thought, okay, this is as it should be. This is what I've been hoping for. And she said, all right, so I'm looking through, and I'm seeing that there was a hold placed, and I don't see why there was a hold placed. If you will give me 30 seconds, I want to verify that there is nothing in the underlying layers in the file, and I want to verify, so I will be back. 30 seconds. And then we heard that there was no sound coming from there. And so my advisor said, our goal here today is to take care of all the outstanding bits and pieces that you've been hitting blank walls with. And then our second goal is that when you tell me the next things you want to do today, we take care of those. That's really the job today. Get this done so that we can do the next reason you're here. And I said, well, thank you. That's very kind. Thank you. And he said, just so long as you understand. And then she was back. I mean, really fast. And she said, sorry for the delay. Excuse me. She said, it would appear that the hold was placed on the account in anticipation of the completed probate of the will. The probated will was registered in November of last year. And it would appear that it was human error that the hold was not lifted. That while the registration took place, because it automatically does through the systems, it somehow didn't get flagged for the administrator in charge of this account. They didn't see it or didn't get to it, and it stayed. And I said, oh. And she said, it has been removed, and you will get a notice of that digitally. She said, the second thing is, while he had a credit card, it is stamped deceased, and there has obviously been no action on it. However, there was action on it in December of 2023, and it looks like an automatic, prepayment that was taken, which has put the credit card in an arrears position. And I said, for how much? She said, $23. And I said, would that just be a service fee? And she said, it's not clear to me now. And she said, but we will take care of it. And there are 3 ways to take care of it. One is that we can just we can open the account so that you can make the payment online. You can go to a teller afterwards, or you can just give some manner of payment to the advisor. Now, I opened my wallet, I took out $25, I put it in front of him, I said, keep the change. And he's like this. And she said, so he will take care of that in a moment. Right now, we're going to do this and this and this. And she told me the other 2 or 3 things that we had to do, and we walked through them. And she asked me questions, and she read things to me, and she asked me if I was familiar with that. Did that make any sense? And was I happy with that? And every time I said yes, she said, you will get an email. And when we are finished today, you will get a printout of what took place with me. There will be nothing that happened today that you do not get a record of now and eventually online. Is that satisfactory? Yes. So while she was still on the phone, there was a knock on the door, and then it opened, and it was the wonderful teller that I had dealt with 2 days earlier. And she said, it's my understanding that you want to do a transaction. And I said, yes. And she said, am I too early? And the financial manager said, no, as a matter of fact, your timing is perfect. What we want to have happen here is a transfer. Once the transfer takes place, and the woman on the phone said the transfer has taken place, the funds have now been moved, and they are now accessible to you. And I said, well, thank you. And so then the manager said, so now Abby can do what she wants. And so the teller said, so you have two options moving forward. You can do this or you can do this. And I said, I want to do the easiest one. She said, the easiest one comes with a fee. And I said, frankly, I don't care. Let's throw the cat another goldfish. And she said, okay, I'll get the process started. And she left. And I sat there and I looked at my watch, and it had been 10 minutes. And he said, all right, let's summarize. And he went through everything. And I agreed, asked questions, and he was ticking things off. And he said, okay, if you'll give me a moment, I don't want you to have to stand and wait. So stay here. I'm going to check and see if they're ready for you. And so I sat there. The woman on the phone had hung up. He's gone away. I'm sitting there. And then he comes back and he said, all right, I have some news. Because he also had the $25, he said. So they've waived the credit card fee. And he said, and they've waived the transaction fee. There will be no fees charged to you today. And I said, how wonderful is that? And he said, on behalf of everyone, it's the least we could do. And I said, well, I am very impressed. Thank you. And he said, let me escort you over to where we do this other transaction. And we walked there together. And it took a little bit longer. It took about another 10 minutes to get the paper thing done that I had to do. And I said, how long does it take before this transaction is completed? Because it's an online thing, it's digital. And they said, it should be almost immediate. It should happen sometime at end of day today. However, this is the 2nd of July. It's a little busy. So it could, we always caution that it could take 3 business days. In this case, it would be Friday at end of business. And I said, thank you. And then I turned to the fellow and he did everything and we stamped it and he gave me receipts for everything. And I walked out of the bank and I walked half a block to my car and there was no ticket on the window. And I got in my car and I started my car and the air conditioning came on and I drove away and I didn't get hit or hit anyone. And I drove home and I parked and I got out of the car and I called Dave's son and I said, we're done. And he said, oh my God. And I said, I know. And I said, I'll call you back as soon as I get settled. And he said, yes, please do. And I got settled, got a few things I had to take care of immediately. And when I called back, he said, the transaction went through. Really? It's not even end of day. He said, no. And so from the time I left my little sanctuary until I got back was less than a third of the time all the previous other complicated experiences had taken individually. A third of the time. And everyone was gracious and everyone was proactive and everyone was on top of it. And everyone was present and invested in the best possible outcome. Not for me, just the best possible outcome. And because everybody went into that exchange with that intention, the likelihood of success was exponentially greater. I'm here for the best possible outcome. Period. Period. You, me, the gerbil, don't care. I'm here for the best possible outcome. I'm leaving everything else in the later folder. Why? Because I've seen what happens when people don't do that. And my win, my simple win on Tuesday was magnificent because it was the last big thing I had promised to do. And there had been so many setbacks for any number of reasons. And to be able to say yes because of the promise I made, because of the commitment I made, because of the person I am, in the face of every one of those setbacks, the combination of how great it is a product of all of that. And I know how hard it is when we feel that we've lost something. I know how hard it is when we feel that we're not heard and we're not seen and we're not valued. And I know how hard it is when we feel that I'm the only one who gets it, and others could and don't or won't and therefore can't. I have stepped there a million times. The reason I'm sharing this is so have you. We all have had those moments when we said, I joined, I paid my dues. All I want is to be safe here and happy. I want to be part of something. I want to make a contribution. I want to give value and be valued. I just want this to work for the best possible outcome. It's all I want. And when we are stopped, when we are stymied, when we are told you don't qualify, you don't deserve, when it appears that we have been singled out, and it's crushing because it's worse than abandonment. It's that we didn't even cause a blip on the great global radar. It's devastating. And when we discover that the hold that was placed that has caused so much trouble was simply an oops, not intentional, a side effect, collateral damage, the person who forgot didn't even know. You know, when I say that thing suddenly, an oven, and I trace it back to that photo that I've explained, there's a truck with a flatbed with another broken truck on it, and sticking out of the hood of the broken truck is an oven that clearly had to get there. Suddenly an oven. You know who doesn't know that the oven is missing? Is the guy who didn't latch the cargo door. They're a little busy trying to stop everything from falling out, or the plane crashed. And the open cargo door will be part of an investigation. Nobody said, there's somebody who deserves an oven. Why do they treat me that way? They don't treat you that way. They treat everybody that way. You just happen to be the one standing in front of them now. And every time I have a win, the sweetness of it, the layered deliciousness, the layers are made up of the cost of the losses. It's not, I'll get even. It's balance regained. It's a law of physics. For every action, there is an equal and opposite. If there's a wrong, there will be a right. It's a physical law. It's never not happened. That guy gets away with everything. Maybe, maybe not. We don't know the whole story. And why are we wasting our time saying, how come he doesn't da da da? Why aren't we focused on us? When we kvetch, all that happens is we carry. We don't get to win. We don't get to put the bags down. We don't get to say, oh, that feels better. We get to choose. We get to choose to say, brace yourself, Goliath. I'm not giving in. I'm walking here. It's my turn. And I'm not leaving till someone explains why. I'm not going to get what I came for. And then I will go away, keep myself busy, and I'll be back. Because that is how persistence overrides resistance. My challenge every day is to figure out what is wanted and how to get it. Rule number 1 in marketing is get their attention. Rule number 2 is find out what they want and give it to them. Not what they think they need in the moment, what they truly want, what is in the back, what is driving them there. People don't buy the steak for the steak, they buy it for the sizzle. They buy it for the memory moment of the last steak that they are racing to embrace again. When I came out of that bank, for the first time, since the first time I walked into that bank, filled with anticipation of assistance and intelligence and compassion, and received none of those things from anyone for what felt like ever, on Tuesday afternoon, I said, my faith is restored. As I was on my way out of the bank, I heard my name called. I looked and it was the teller. And she said, see you soon. Feel better. I don't actively bank there. But I had made a friend who wanted me to know. There's nothing in it for her. She doesn't work on commission. I had made a friend who wanted me to know that she was looking forward to our next encounter. And really, isn't that what we all look for? Someone who looks forward to being with us, seeing us, hearing us, sharing the path with us again. Isn't that what we all want? Yes, of course it is. We just get sidelined and sideswiped and overwhelmed and distracted by stuff that doesn't accomplish anything. And when we allow ourselves to be distracted that way, when we allow ourselves to stay anchored in rage at injustice, have I been anchored in rage and injustice about all of these processes and procedures? I hope not. I have been astonished. I have been exhausted. I have been offended. I have been grateful in the same size when someone in the midst of indifferent incompetence has gone out of their way to pay attention and be kind. So all of those things that were exhausting, they readied me to appreciate things that were restoring. If something is going to sap my energy, waiting for me in the wings is something to lift my spirits if I'm willing to let them. And that, I think, my lovelies, is the key. This is a turning point for so many of us in these days. We are looking at shifts and changes in so many things, and it sometimes feels like it's moving faster. And the thing is, it's not really moving faster. It's that we have access to more windows to view things happening as they always have. Temperatures rising? Yes, they have risen before. Temperatures falling? Yes, they have fallen before. Extreme weather? Yes, we've had it before. I had the great good fortune when I was working in Morning Drive Radio to interview David Suzuki. He was in Ottawa for some event. Might even have been an honor bestowed on him for his work. And in the midst of our conversation, we were talking about all of his special interests. And my radio host colleague had said something about the natural disasters. I think it was wildfires. And David Suzuki said something that just struck me like a brick between the eyes. And he said, natural events are only disasters to man. And there was dead silence on live radio. And then my very experienced co-host said, well, that's a very deep, profound, blah, 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 just a tap dance and fill the air. And I was looking at David Suzuki, and I said, I don't think that has ever occurred to me in my lifetime. And he said, it hasn't occurred to a lot of people in many lifetimes. And so he was forgiving me for my astonishment and my innocence, ignorance. The fact is, everything that has happened before and will again, not exactly, very similar. And that we can see so many of them all at once feels like we are overwhelmed. When we didn't have instant news all the time, it took days to find out that there had been an accident, a storm, a derailment, a war. It took us a long time. If we didn't get on the horse and ride to the next town, we didn't know that somebody had done something unspeakable to someone, or that somebody had created a tremendous achievement. We didn't hear about these things as often. So we weren't overwhelmed, and we weren't intimidated, and we didn't have, we didn't have this thing that we're checking every spare second that we have to know what's happening now. Where's the hurricane now? What's it doing now? Is it anywhere near me? No. Do I actually have people there? No. Okay. Could I check later? Well, yes, but I want to know now. Okay. Then why are you complaining that you're overwhelmed with information? You're the one looking for it. So what I wanted to say today about the taste of the win is that the more we strive, the more invested we are in achieving an outcome, the smarter we are about using our resources to reach the place we intend to be. The more patient and tenacious and focused and consistent we are willing to be, the better it tastes, the better it feels, the better we sleep. And the better prepared we are for the next one and the next time. I always find I'm as guilty of it as everybody else, as every client I take on. The rules are simple. Get their attention. find out what they want and give it to them. Make them glad they came. That's it. And yet I overstate, and yet I face the wrong way, and yet I get caught up in and lost in my own, well, they'll need to know this and they'll need to know that, and no, they won't. No, they don't. And if they do, they'll ask you. I forget that the simple win, the one that tastes so good, is the one that we already did all the work for. And now we're here to collect the prize. When the customer walks in the door, when they click on our website, when they pick up the phone and they text us and say, "Hi, I heard your message. I saw your post. I watched your video. I saw your website. I bumped into you. I got a chance to. Someone mentioned you." Do you know what they want to know? They want to know if their gut, if their spidey sense is right. They want to know what's in it for them. They want to know if we get who they are, if we have done the work to know what they want, why they want it, and when. And then it's just a matter of placing the order and waiting for it to arrive. I went back to my website, the one I'm building, and I looked at it and I thought, well, we could just delete the first half of that. And instead, it's you are. You want. You can have. Thanks for stopping by. Click here. That's all people have time for, room for, energy for, focus for. Do they get me? Is this a fit? Are they going to help me get rid of my itch? Where do I sign? That's it. If we have done all the work, if we've paid all the dues, if we are so ready, we can't begin to tell you how much we long for the win we've earned. If we feel that way about us, it's a very good chance they feel the same. If we're both playing to earn the win, it means, you know what? Sometimes we'll lose, but we'll be back and we'll try again. And on the day we win, that's one of their losses. They'll be back. And we know it. It's how it works. Isn't that an interesting kind of a huh? It certainly was for me. And I was so grateful. I thought, oh, I've got so much stuff to do now. I can do this and I can do this. And instead, I did something I have never really done. I said, actually, what I'm going to do when I got back and I'd taken care of the immediate things, I thought, I'm going to relax. I'm going to breathe deep. I'm going to rest. And I'm going to give thanks. And we'll see what I do tomorrow. And tomorrow after that. I don't need to go to the big after party. I do deserve the attaboy, the attagirl, because it was a long time coming. And then it came. So this weekend coming, for all of you south of our border, it's going to be a weekend. For those of you in the path of some really unfortunate stuff, all I can say is hang on, take the deep breaths, find a safe space, hug your loved ones. It will pass, and we can begin again. That's all I can say. And you're not alone. People are watching. People are caring. You are going to be okay in a minute. Meanwhile, deep breaths, consistent action repeated over time. And we'll all get there. So there will be things to talk about next week. I'm going to be a little overwhelmed and excited by the fact that I'm doing a fan event on the 14th, which is not this Sunday, but next. And I have all kinds of amazing people who are going to come and help me make it magical. I always say that I add something different every year. This time I'm adding 3 different things this year. Because why not? And we will see what kind of utmost damned astonishment we can cause. I am looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing my team gather once again. And in the meantime, whatever it is you're going to be doing, I'm going to do my very best to come up with themes for the 2 videos next week that are about the things that are happening in my world. However, as best I can, phrasing them to reference you, to include you, to resonate with you, because we're all in the boat together. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of this. Thanks for telling your friends. Thanks for saying, you know, Abby's doing something. Not quite sure what it is, but it certainly is a good time. And if they have listened and said, I'll check it out, I am very, very grateful to all of you for making that choice to prioritize this. You're the best. So with all of that said, be good to you. Hug your loved ones. You all deserve it. And I will catch you next time. Thanks for watching.